The car moved along the quiet road, with only a few other vehicles around. The journey was peaceful. Nutakorn was driving, while his daughter sat in the back to take care of someone else they had brought along. Mevika sat hugging Awarin. Awarin leaned into her, finding comfort in the embrace. But as time passed, she started feeling unwell. Just at that moment, the car arrived at Mevika's house. Nutakorn drove through the gate, which was opened remotely by the housekeeper. He glanced at his daughter and the other young woman through the rearview mirror from time to time. When the car finally stopped inside, he looked at them again and spoke gently, careful not to startle Awarin. "You should stay here tonight. Don't worry about it. I'll call your father and let him know," Nutakorn said. Awarin didn't answer. She simply lifted her head to look at the older man who had been kind to her. She was now in his house, unexpectedly being allowed to stay the night. But before she could respond, she started feeling worse. She buried herself in Mevika's arms, pressing her lips against Mevika's neck as if she needed to do so. Then she whispered, "I feel hot." "You feel hot?" Mevika asked quickly, her mind immediately thinking of possible reasons. "Let's get out of the car and go rest in my room." Awarin rested her forehead on Mevika's shoulder, gritting her teeth as Mevika helped her out of the car and into the house. Inside, they met Munthada, who had come to check on them after receiving a message from her husband a while ago. "Maple, how is she?" "She's okay, Mom," Mevika replied quickly, though her eyes remained full of concern as she hugging Awarin close. "It's hot. I feel so hot." Awarin dug her fingers tightly into Mevika's arm. "You feel hot?" Munthada looked surprised. "I think." Mevika paused for 4 or 5 seconds, then let out a sigh. AI might have been drugged. Drugged. "What should we do?" Her mother's face filled with shock. "It's okay. I think I can take care of her. I'll take AI upstairs to rest first. Maybe she needs to cool down, take a bath, or okay. Go ahead." Munthada quickly stepped aside, letting her daughter take their special guest upstairs. She then walked over to stand next to her husband, who was silently watching over everything. Seeing her daughter supporting a young woman she knew as a brilliant new generation businesswoman, Munthada wasn't sure what to think. She turned to her husband and asked, "What kind of drug do you think it is? Don't tell me it's some sort of." It could be." Nutakorn cleared his throat lightly. But his lips pressed together, trying not to say too much. "Maybe it wasn't that bad. I'm not sure how serious it is, but Maple should know how to handle the effects of this drug." The bedroom door swung shut as Mevika struggled to close it properly. She locked it quickly and rushed to help Awarin onto the bed, gently pushing her to lie down. Awarin grabbed onto Mevika, stopping her from leaving. "I need to get a towel to cool you down." "I want you here, just you," Awarin murmured, pulling Mevika into a tight embrace. "All right. Are you okay? How do you feel?" Mevika asked, hugging her back and softly rubbing her back in comfort. "Good." Awarin buried her face in Mevika's neck. "I feel. It's okay, you stay with me," she pressing her head to the person who needed her to rely on the most. There was only concern more than thinking about the things that made her angry and gloomy. And in fact, she missed Awarin a lot. "Do you want me to help you?" She loosened her hug and looked at her face. "Yes." She nodded repeatedly, using her hands to brush and rub her neck when it started to get heavier. "Help me." Lie down on the bed properly. Pushing her shoulders to move to the middle of her bed, which she had just had the chance to welcome Awarin for the first time, and was also the only person who had ever slept on her bed. She moved to straddle her slender legs, helping to take off that fitted suit jacket, leaving only a black camisole, and leaning in to kiss her to heal her emotions. She kissed her back passionately. She was not prepared for meeting her tonight, but it was okay. If she could help her, she would be more than happy to. She reached in to unhook her bra, pulled the straps off her shoulders, and pulled up the camisole. She leaned down to help manage Awarin's thirst that she had to feel, joining in to satisfy her desires. She pulled her hand down below, then unhooked her skirt, pulled it down a little and inserted her hand through the edge of the fabric, pressed down on her waist until she groaned, increased her weight to make her feel the most satisfied. Her lips opened to taste the sweet nipples. There was a slender hand pressed against her head to help satisfy until the soft chest trembled frequently. She let her breathe fully for a while before moving down to take off the skirt and the small piece of fabric and slide down lower. It was her own desire to do it. When she started, the emotions in her body called for the touch of the woman she felt the most affectionate with. She thought of her. She desired her body, even though she did not imagine it this way, but just having her together, whether it was when she touched her or she was the only one touching her, She wanted it all. Ah. Awerin cried out when she felt the soft touch that made her squirt. She felt it all over her body, both the sweat that formed on her forehead, the sweat that formed on her body, and the lower part that Mevika was helping her with. Maple. She felt something enter her. Instead of that soft touch, Mevika helped stimulate and heal her body's emotions. She was very satisfied and pleased with it. She couldn't imagine how she would get through this night if Mevika wasn't here with her. Mevika helped her through the first stage of her emotional struggle. She moved up to kiss her, pressed her forehead down, and whispered, "Miss you." Awerin met Mevika's eyes. Her eyes were moist and sparkling. She smiled faintly and whispered back, "Miss you too. I miss you so much." She lifted her head up to kiss her, letting her kiss her. She opened her lips to accept the kiss. It was a kiss that she felt love, passion, and tenderness. She knew that there was still the effect of the drug that she didn't want to happen in her body. She always wanted Mevika, even though there was no drug to stimulate her. She might not have drunk much, and it wouldn't feel any more than this. But the thoughts, the desires that she always demanded from Mevika were circulating in her feelings. She wanted Mevika to touch her fully. She reached out to help unbutton and take off Mevika's shirt. Wanting to hug the body she had been yearning for many days with closeness, she wanted to squeeze her body close to her all night, a night where they would talk with only body language until they fell asleep together. Awerin looked at Mevika, who had taken off all her clothes. She pulled off the tank top that was hanging on her body and squeezed her body down to her. She hugged her, buried her face in her neck, brushed her hands all over the soft body that she loved the most, and did things that would help satisfy the passion of both of them until the time she wanted to stop it herself. When the morning approached, the light came in, and a slight strange feeling made Awerin feel awake. She was hugged in Mevika's arms, under a soft blanket that made her want to back asleep immediately. But it was good to open her eyes and be with this feeling. So she snuggled herself in that embrace the person who was willing to come back and hug her. She didn't know how Mevika could help her, but she was glad that the person who helped her was Mevika, even though they both still had problems. But she knew what she was facing. She cared about her, concerned about her, came to see her, and took good care of her. Last night, it was because of an unintended desire, but Mevika made her feel like it was a natural desire. She herself thought about her, desired her, and touched her with love. If she felt, she had feelings for her like the people who loved each other. Mevika realized when she was pressed against her body, but she went back to sleep. Last night, she had wiped her body before going to bed, brought a shirt with a wide shoulder cut, long enough to cover her thighs, and put a blanket on her so that she could sleep at the right temperature. She took a shower, put on her nightgown, a smooth fabric with buttons in the front, and slept next to her, hugged her, and fell asleep together. It was a time when she truly felt that it was a time when lovers treat each other. She intended that after the auction, they would have a chance to meet, and she was still willing to give her a chance. "Are you awake?" The loud voice made Awerin turn to look at the face of the person who had woken up and looked at her. She reached out to grab her cheek and gently stroked it. "Are you feeling better? Do you have a headache or how are you feeling?" "Nothing at all. I'm feeling better," Awerin replied. "Oh, really?" Muika smiled. She moved to lie on her side and leaned forward to look at Awerin comfortably. She was glad that she had been able to take care of her and make her feel safe all night until she felt better. "I couldn't sit still when I went to see you. I was afraid I wouldn't make it in time." "How did you know I was there?" "Luckily, you sent a message. It's unusual because I wasn't the one who made the appointment with you. But it just so happened that that evil guy came to invite me to have dinner there after the presentation was over. But I refused. He gave me a card. On it was the name of the place and the room name. I threw it away in the car. When you sent a message and disappeared, I was able to follow you. Thank you so much for thinking fast and coming to help me in time." She gently squeezed the hand resting on her cheek, feeling grateful. "You were amazing. Last night, I felt so stupid for getting lost there and not being able to protect myself." "You're not stupid. Sometimes people make mistakes. You've always been smart, but problems can happen, and it's not about being clever or not. You had your reasons for going there. You." Voice softened as she hesitated to talk about herself. "You went there to find me, right?" "Yeah, I wanted to see you. When I thought you were the one who set up the meeting, I just rushed to you without thinking." "So, was it me who made you let your guard down like that?" Mevika smiled. "That's not a stupid thing at all wanting to come see me." "Yeah, you're right." Awerin smiled. Hearing Mevika's kind words made her feel so much better. I'm really glad you came to help me. I thought your anger would make you ignore me, that you wouldn't care anymore, but you still came. Her eyes welled up with tears and she quickly wiped them away. Been so worried that we wouldn't talk or see each other the same way again. Because you made a mistake. You think that would change everything between us. Awarin shook her head. She sat up against the headboard and held both of Mevika's hands, as if confessing something. Why did you come to help me, even after what I did to you? Because I don't believe you did it just for your own benefit. Maybe you were forced to, or had a reason. That sharp mind and cunning side of yours, you used them on me, but I don't think you really meant to deceive me. Do you really think that? Awarin looked at her with sad eyes. She let out a relieved sigh before hugging Mevika tightly. I was planning to explain everything to you after the auction results were announced. If I misunderstood you, even if I won against you, you weren't afraid things would turn out that way. I was scared. Awarin loosened her hug and looked at her with worried eyes. Been anxious for days. I had no way of knowing how things would turn out until that day. I didn't know if you'd still give me a chance, but I just had to do it. I didn't want you to lose, and I hoped you'd fight until the very end. So, there was a reason why you wanted to win so badly. It started with my dad. He found out about us on the day I was feeling down, when we went to the beach. He made me a deal. I could date you, but I had to bring him some information. But honestly, he probably knew I wouldn't get much from you. Technical details are a company's specialty, but what I could access were the numbers. Even though numbers don't tell the whole story, they're an important factor in decision-making. My dad said that if I could beat Superior and win this bid, he'd stop interfering in who I date. He'd give me complete freedom to be with a woman. And if you won against me that way, would we still be together? Or was it just about having the freedom to date any woman? No, I only want to be with you. Awarin shook her head firmly. I had to follow my dad's conditions, but I tried to do it in a way that hurt you the least. Then I changed my mind. I wanted to do whatever it took for you to win this bid. Even if I lost and didn't meet my dad's conditions, we would still be together. Mevika's face turned red as Awarin confessed. They weren't even officially dating yet. Awarin had told her that after the bidding was over, she would ask her out. Now it was clear she truly wanted to be with her. I heard that Jerk got information from someone inside Superior. They needed Superior's numbers. Besides using connections and overhyping their technical presentation, they also adjusted their bid just slightly higher than Superior's, just enough to win without making their numbers look suspiciously high. When I found out Superior's numbers a few days before the submission deadline, I figured they might have adjusted theirs too. But I couldn't just tell you outright. It would have been weird if I walked up to you and said, "Hey, raise your numbers because I want you to win." So you went to ask my secretary and then purposely said the numbers out loud while pretending to be drunk. It was the only way. If you didn't adjust them, then it would have just been Superior's fate, whether you won based on technical merits or not, but believed you could do it. And you did. On the presentation day, you were amazing, better than any other company. After seeing that, the numbers really became secondary, but just in case the committee wanted to give extra points. And Pijai remembered what you said when she sobered up. I practically wrote it on her palm. Awarin laughed. The "don't you want to win yourself? Or did you already adjust your numbers after finding out mine? Of course, I wanted to win. But at this point, I'm happy as long as I beat Great and Grow. Being second place is fine. If Royce wasn't still strong because of its old reputation, I would have wanted us to win together. But now I'm not sure. It might come down to Superior and Royce. As long as it's not Great and Grow, I'm fine. My numbers are actually higher than Superior's, but after figuring out a way for you to adjust yours, I think Oriana might fall behind. I raised my numbers, but I don't know if it's enough. It's probably enough to beat me. You really don't want to win against me. We already agreed that competition is separate from our relationship. No matter what happens between us, we still have to compete. I don't want to win against you anymore. Awarin leaned in, resting her head on Mevika's shoulder, wrapping her arms around her as she whispered her true feelings. I lost to you a long time, Maple. I've already lost my heart to you. If it means I get to win you your heart and all of you, then I'm happy not being the winner. Mevika froze at that confession, her heart swelling with warmth. Having someone feel this way about her, willing to give their whole heart even if it meant losing it, was overwhelming. Someone as brilliant as Awarin wasn't the type to lose easily, but she had willingly surrendered to her. Gently, Mevika lifted Awarin's chin so their eyes met. Seeing the soft, affectionate gaze looking back at her made her smile, feeling happier than ever. She leaned in and kissed her gently, full of tenderness. Mevika smiled and pulled Awerin into a hug, wanting her to know just how happy she was to be loved by someone so precious.